Welcome back to Offroad Outlaws, guys, and in this video, we're going to be going into a few different questions that people have had about the new update. We're going to be going over some of the confusion that has kind of arisen out of the new update, and we're going to be talking about some hints that the developers have been dropping as to what may be coming in the next update. So if any of those things are things you are interested in, make sure you keep watching for the rest of the video. Now, the first question and answer that we're going to be looking at both come from the Offroad Outlaws official Facebook page in their comment section. Now, full disclosure, all of these questions and answers come from their comment section with, of course, the original commenter blurred out or, of course, marked out to protect their privacy. And this first question asks, when will there be controller support for Offroad Outlaws? And the developers actually answered and said, hopefully we will get that sorted out soon. Now, that's huge because this is, I think, the first time they have ever actually spoken openly about anything related to controller support. And the fact that they're saying something about that is massive because currently, in order to have controller support on Offroad Outlaws, really the only way to go about it is to run the game through the Android emulator called BlueStacks and then set up a bunch of different triggers and commands within the virtual interface of BlueStacks that you can then hook say an Xbox controller to through a set of custom keybinds. Now, that is, for a lot of users, clunky, complicated, and not something that a lot of people want to sit down and set up, and I completely understand it if Offroad Outlaws is a game that you play in short bursts, maybe when you're, let's say, waiting somewhere, or you're on break, or you're, kind of in the middle of having lunch, and you're like, oh, I'll get on Offroad Outlaws for a couple of minutes. That is not a situation where you want to have to sit down, open up an emulator, and actually create your own custom keybinds and trigger points for a controller. That's not really something that a lot of people are going to just sit down and do unless you're into emulation and maybe you already have an Android emulator like BlueStacks on your system. Now, what you're seeing here is me using one of the new add-ons in this update, the grenade launcher. Now, again, fully to clarify, this update, if you're not aware, is available, and all of these features, so the update itself is available to everyone, but a lot of these features, like for example the grenade launcher and the ability to manipulate physics, are included in the elite level of membership, which I'm going to go ahead and dive into that now because I've seen, especially in the comment section of my prior video, in Offroad Outlaws' own comment section, and of course in the stream, there were a lot of questions back and forth about this. And a lot of those questions and or statements kind of surrounded the idea of, well, why were these features locked behind another level of membership? Why were these features behind a paywall? And basically a lot of people just saying, well, I wanted these features for free. Why didn't you put these in the game for free? And here's the thing. I know that there's both sides to this, right? So there's the side that is like, dude, I don't like the fact that these are behind a paywall. And then there's the other side, which is the developers of the game offering some extra in-game enhancements for a small extra cost. And here's kind of the middle where I land on this, because if it was a game that you had already paid like a large sum to play in the first place, and then there were continuous extra paid DLCs after that, I can understand where some people might be annoyed by that, but at the same time, the entry to play this game is free, so you do get a lot of content in the game for free, so I think, for a lot of these extra features, the developers have to put in a lot more time, and that time obviously takes resources and development effort to put in, so I can completely understand where they're coming from with the small extra charge. Now, here's an interesting tidbit of information from the devs. This person asked, how about some new props for map making? And Offroad Outlaws themselves said, coming soon. They didn't provide any other information than that, but literally just them saying coming soon actually tells us a lot more than you might think, because when they say coming soon, I don't think they would give us an update that was just new map making props, right? I think there would be a lot more things included in that update that would also just so happen to have map props in it. I think all of these things that they're alluding to basically tell us that there's probably another update coming a lot earlier than we might think, and I think that this update may just be laying the groundwork for that update, because let's not forget, yes, I know that the main sort of polarizing part of the update we just got was the elite membership features and the ability to change physics and stuff like that, but behind all of that, there were a lot of logistical changes to the way the game runs, and you may be able to see that in the gameplay right now, which is increased FPS and just much smoother gameplay play altogether. Now, I can tell you from personal experience of playing this game on my BlueStacks emulator for many years now, this is the best the game has ever run. From a performance standpoint, the game runs smoother, it runs crisper, and it runs cleaner, both in single player and multiplayer. And that is not in any way a exaggeration. This is the best I've ever seen this game run, and I'm really hoping that what that means is that they're laying the groundwork to give us another update that allows for, hopefully, you know, more trucks, bigger maps, and things like that. Because I think what a lot of people don't realize when they say, well, why are you doing all this other stuff? We just want more trucks, or we just want more this or this or this. I think what a lot of people don't understand is in order to provide more trucks, you know, these trucks take up a lot of space, they take up a lot of memory, and in order to add more, the developers need to continue to optimize the game so that the game can continue to run smooth, especially on older devices. Because one of the things that the developers actually said in response to someone in the comments on their Facebook page, when the person asked, like, oh, what was really done in this update, they were like, you know, there's a lot of people on older devices that are playing this game that the more we add, you know, it becomes a little bit trickier for them to run the game, and we want to make sure that while we keep adding features to it and while we keep adding vehicles to it, we want the game to continue to be accessible for people on those older devices, because not everybody is on a brand new phone or a brand new tablet. Now, this next comment that they replied to was not something that I was really expecting to see, so I was kind of confused when I originally read the conversation, but I'll go over it with you guys. Now, the commenter said, you know, why are there pew-pew devices in this game? And they said, that's lame, quote-unquote. And they said, you don't have to use them if you don't want to. And they also continued to say that they are putting in a mode where those devices are not going to be allowed, but you obviously, you know, you can't shoot people in game, and you know, in case they didn't know, and there are birds flying around, you can shoot them out of the sky, and when they land, they turn into a crate full of money and gold coins. Now, I suspect that where this person is coming from is, why did you spend time on putting those in the game when you could have given us more trucks, right? Like, that's kind of what I see a lot of people going back to, like, why aren't there more trucks? Where are new trucks? We want new trucks. And that is kind of like the thing that I see repeated and repeated and repeated over and over again, both in, you know, the comment section of the posts that the official Offroad Outlaws page makes, and in some cases, my own comments that are like, I don't care about anything else that's being put in this game, I just want new trucks. And I get that, I completely understand that, but again, you know, the developers continue to have to optimize this game more and more and more in order to bring new vehicles into the game's lineup, and also, vehicles take more time to build, so I'm sure they're working on something in the background, and honestly, I would be extremely surprised and shocked, frankly, if they weren't working on new vehicles in the background. So I have faith that new vehicles are going to come at some point. I'm sure they are, and I think after what we've been seeing Offroad Outlaws, the official page, say, you know, I would venture a guess that we're going to see some information about a new update sooner rather than later. And that point actually leads me into my next thing, which is this person said, I feel like I've wasted money on this new membership. Can we start seeing some updates that are actually relevant? Add some new trucks. See, there it is again. Work on adding new things that we can do to the trucks as well, meaning more customization. And they simply replied, we have a ton coming. Basically, another coming soon comment. So that, again, really is a nice segue, because that literally confirms that they have new trucks and customization parts in the works. Now, I know that there were some things that they hinted at previously, like, for example, the ability to move the position of the smokestacks around. That would personally be a huge thing, especially for me, because some trucks, it's offset to, like, the corner of the bed, and I feel like when you're running a single stack in the bed of a truck, having it all the way off in the corner looks a little bit awkward, and it doesn't really look balanced in terms of the rest of the truck. I think, like, right there, slightly offset from the middle, like we have in the back of this GMC, looks really, really good. I would just like to be able to set all of the stacks there in all of the different trucks, and I think that that would be a nice element of customization to see. But, you know, whether or not we get that, they once again have confirmed that they have a lot in the works, both in the way of new vehicles and new vehicle customization elements. And again, the next comment reply that they made was to another comment that said, an update with no new vehicles, ... What have y'all been doing this whole time? Same with no limit. And again, it goes back to this, I think, this kind of, you know, repeated theme of people really wanting, seeming anyway, a lot of people seeming to want vehicles over all else. But again, they've got to lay the groundwork for these things. They've got to lay the groundwork for the optimization. They've got to sort out the way the game runs, and they've got to make it run smoothly with all of these features and all of these new vehicles, which again, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize the amount that goes on behind the scenes prepping the games for these updates, especially when they add new vehicles to the game, because if it's not done right, it can crash devices, it can overload devices, and if those things happen, then it could be catastrophic for the game as a whole. So I think the developers are really trying to make sure that when they release a new batch of vehicles, because keep in mind, we usually don't get one vehicle or two vehicles at a time. We usually get a bunch. They usually come in these big batch drops. And so when we do get another drop in the near, well, hopefully in the near future anyway, that will be a pretty sizely batch. Because again, you know, it's been a little while since they've added new vehicles to the game, but I think that, you know, if we give them some time, they're going to drop some nasty rigs. So with all of that being said, let me know what you guys thought about everything we talked about in this video. And if you're new to the channel and you would like to see more or stay up to date on everything Offroad Outlaws and more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on. And once again, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time.